So the first mistake most people make when applying a fragrance is they rub it in. Now, I get why people do this. Maybe they're testing a fragrance, they want to put it on various parts of the body, but they don't want to put too much on. They want to spread it out. And to be transparent, personally, I did this for years. The problem, though, is when you're rubbing in a fragrance, you're mixing the oils on your skin with the oils in the fragrance, and you're not allowing the fragrance to dissipate naturally. So why is this an issue? Well, let's take the classic Dior fragrance, Eau Sauvage, made by the perfumer Runitza. Masterpiece right here. He designed this in a way so that you would smell the top notes, the middle notes, and the base notes in that order. When you rub the fragrance, you're basically mixing up the notes. I mean, think about it if it was a piece of music. It definitely wouldn't sound the same, right? Now, some of you guys are saying, oh, that's a relatively linear fragrance. So let's take a more multi-dimensional fragrance. And by the way, a linear fragrance smells the same from the beginning to the end. But when we're talking about multi-dimensional fragrances, these are ones that are going to have a top, a very clear middle, a very clear base. And this is naturally as the molecules basically, as they're moving off and you're starting to pick them up. This is something with Black Orchid you can definitely pick up. A complex, beautiful fragrance that costs hundreds of dollars. If you're going to spend good money on a fragrance, don't you want to enjoy it the way that the artist put it together? They wanted to present it to you. You've got the truffle, you've got the Mexican chocolate, the patchouli. Ooh, just, yeah, beautiful fragrance. Can't get enough of this one. But seriously, gents, there are right and wrong ways to wear fragrances. And in today's video, I've got you covered with the ultimate guide to how to wear your fragrance properly. You ready, gents? Let's do this. So the second mistake you want to avoid making when wearing a fragrance is the mist cloud. Now, if you're in a low gravity situation and you've got a clone fragrance and yeah, you have a lot that you're okay wasting, you can, I guess if that's your habit, go for it. But I think for most of us, especially again, if you're spending a lot of money on a great fragrance, you don't want to do the mist cloud because more than half of that stuff does not end up on you. Instead, it ends up on the floor and it's just a big waste. Now, specifically, what are my rules for applying fragrance? Well, first up, I apply it in the morning right out of the shower. I like to apply it on a clean body. I know some people use fragrance to cover up their smell. I do think someone should shower daily. That being said, I usually wait about 5 to 10 minutes after getting out of the shower. This is just natural for me. I've got my routine. I'm going to dry off. I'm going to usually shave. I'm going to apply lotions, all things like that. And then I apply my fragrance again, usually after about 10 minutes. Now, being a bit more specific, let's talk about distance from the skin when you spray. On average, 3 to 6 inches, but this depends on the atomizer. The atomizer is this device right here at the top, and it takes the fragrance and it takes it and pushes it into a mist form. You're going to find on higher end bottles, companies like Dior, they have amazing atomizers. They spend a lot of money on this, and you could be 6 inches away and this thing is still going to spray evenly on the body. Cheaper atomizers from low cost manufacturers, you'll find sometimes you got to be closer to 3 inches because they spray really wide and they are inconsistent, and you want to again make sure that most of this fragrance is going where you intend it to go. Now, you're going to find some old school fragrances. These don't even use atomizers. These are going to be more of the splash variety. In general, these are going to have a weaker concentration, but don't let that fool you, and be careful with this because
don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow Sunbird Perfumes Zimbabwe. Now back to the topic.
You can easily put on too much. I find the best way to apply this is simply to hold it onto the hand, turn the fragrance over, and then just dab it on little bit by bit. You can keep adding more. Seriously, you want to be careful with splashing because as you can see right here, I am splashing it all over the place. It easily comes out, and yeah, now my office smells like English leather. Now, I mentioned concentration. Let me explain that really quick. And by the way, there are no standards, so this is a generalization here. But Eau Fresh, this is going to be the lightest concentration. We're talking 1 to 3% of fragrance oil mixed in with usually alcohol. So this is going to be something that we'll see a lot of, just simple, clean aftershaves, colognes. And the alcohol makes sense for an aftershave because it was made to clean up cuts. It was a disinfectant first. Now, colognes in of themselves are going to be relatively weak. And when I say colognes, perfumes, fragrances, I'm kind of mixing the words together because I know in general in the United States, when we're talking about a men's fragrance, we say cologne. And besides being a city in Germany, it has a definition in the fragrance industry, which is about 2 to 95% concentration. So again, you can have about 5% fragrance oil mixed in with about 95% alcohol. So it's going to be about twice as strong as we see those eau fraiches. Next up, we've got EDTs, and the concentration here about 5 to sometimes 15%. It's really all over the map. And by the way, an EDT is not necessarily going to be even stronger than a cologne when it comes to projection and smell. Again, there's no standards here, but usually we will see a higher concentration of the fragrance oil. Next up, we've got eau de parfums at about 15 to 20%, sometimes a little bit higher. And then we see parfums. Again, no standard here, 20 to sometimes 40%. At that point, it gets really hard for the atomizer to even work with that much oil. But I will say that, again, just because something is a parfum doesn't mean it's going to last longer. So then why did I tell you all that? Because the next mistake I see a lot of guys make is that they blindly use a fragrance without first having tested it. And I know this because I made this mistake with tobacco vanilla. I was in Lenox Mall with Aaron Marino and we're having a great time. And I'm like, I'm going to go try a whole bunch of fragrances. I was just starting my journey. I put on some tobacco vanilla, actually quite a bit of tobacco vanilla. We were driving around in his car. He made me stop. He's like, you got to get out and wash some of that stuff off. It was way too powerful. I mean, I probably sprayed on like 5 times because, it was free. I was just a sample. Guys, test drive it before you actually commit to a full bottle or wearing it in public. And you can also get the exact opposite. Like right here, Milsim Imperial by Creed. I absolutely love this fragrance. Beautiful. But I could spray this on 15 times and it's maybe going to last 3 to 4 hours, and I'm going to get maybe a foot of projection. So there are some great fragrances out there that smell amazing, very expensive, but yeah, you may not get much projection or much push off them at all. And that leads to my next basic rule, which is less is more. I like to be discovered, not announced when I walk into a room. Even if I've got one of my favorite fragrances right here, PDM's Carlisle. Absolutely love this during the winter, but I have made the mistake of putting on too much. And guess what? When you put on too much, you overwhelm people, especially if they're stuck in a car with you. If you're going to be flying on an airplane, I mean, you got to think of others. If you work in an office environment and there is a no scent policy, which by the way is stupid because everything has scent. I mean, literally you can't walk in. Your body naturally has a scent. That being said, I get where they're coming from. They don't want, to give people migraines, and you got to be careful of putting on too much. For me, in general, I find that 1 to 3 sprays in the chest area, if I'm at all concerned, if it's a new fragrance, that is the most I'm putting on. And again, this is in the chest area. I'm putting clothing over it, so that's even helping to mask it. And I like enough, though, for it to last. Sometimes 1 spray, though. Right here, Carlisle, I can get away with 1, maybe 2 sprays of this because the atomizer is good and it's a strong fragrance. Acqua di Gio, the new EDP right here, this maybe 5 sprays, especially during the summer. It's going to project a bit more. Usually I'm wearing short sleeve shirts. I find that I absolutely love this one. But again, if I'm going into an interview, maybe 1 to 2 sprays in the chest area, and that is it. Now, specifically, where to apply on the body. I know I've talked about spraying in the chest area multiple times. For me, that's my go-to area. If I want to project a bit more, I'll spray once on each wrist, maybe 2 times on the chest, so a total of 4 sprays. If I'm going with, Sauvage Elixir right here, which is really strong, 1 spray in the chest, half a spray on each of the wrists. Again, you got to know what you're putting on, have practice wearing this. Other areas, the back of the neck. This is really great if you want to leave a trail, basically a sillage. Sillage is basically the scent trail that you leave. Projection is how it pushes off. So sillage is really nice if you're going to be at a bar, if you're going to be in an event, and you want women turning their heads saying, wow, that guy smells amazing. That back of the neck is great. Also in the hair. I know some people are concerned about it drying out the hair. I feel this is relatively small, and the hair just does a great job of holding the smell. If you're wearing short sleeve shirts and you're putting on a bit more, it's a relatively weak fragrance. I find on the arms as well is great. So again, just right there, if you really like the fragrance, if it's relatively weak and you're going to be, just simply wearing it for yourself, you could easily put on 10 sprays. Now, again, that's probably too much for the vast majority of people, so stick with the first rule, better to be discovered than announced, maybe 1 to 2 sprays in the chest area. But what about clothing? So I get this question a lot, and I understand why you need to be careful, because you don't want to stain your clothing, especially if the fragrance, a lot of them have colors added to them. They will, for a white shirt, they may leave a slight discoloration. Go ahead and test it out, but If you don't want this to touch your skin, and I get some people don't want that, and you want the fragrance to last longer, then consider spraying on your clothing. And this is a great option. Again, same areas, chest, back of the neck. If you're wearing a suit, you could spray it right on the wrist areas of the suit, maybe even on the arm, in the chest area, even the back shoulder area. All of this, again, especially if you want to leave that intoxicating sillage trail, get back to those earlier rules, understand what you're putting on and how strong it is. Now, gents, if you've ever worn a beautiful fragrance and nobody gave you a compliment, yeah, come on. In solidarity, smash that like button. Seriously, guys, when you engage with that like button, it lets the YouTube gods know that, hey, this video is worth watching, and hopefully some more guys will find this video so that the world will start to smell better. Wouldn't that be a good thing? Oh, and if I missed anything in today's video, let me know in the comments below. You guys know I love hearing from you. Now, when applying fragrances, what about rules in the office? I talked about that lightly, but for me, the key here is making sure it's a fragrance that is versatile, one that isn't going to have a lot of pepper in it. I love Viktor & Rolf Spice Bomb Extreme. This is an amazing clubbing fragrance when you want to get recognized, but wearing it into the office, probably a little bit too much. Or do you want like animalistic notes in it? Probably not in the office. High sex appeal. And taste just beautiful by Chanel. Not something I'm going to wear into the office. However, Prada, this is a powdery fragrance right here. This is their Homme. This fragrance is a masterpiece, good quality ingredients, 2 sprays in the chest area, and it's going to stay close, perfect for the office, and that's what you're looking for, is a fragrance that's not going to offend, maybe a light floral, bit of citrus in it, something that's clean, something that, yeah, I mean, unless I guess you want your secretary to jump on you, then definitely, yeah, wear that one right there. Now, gents, as I'm here talking about fragrances, wouldn't it be cool if there were performance-enhancing colognes? I'm talking about perfumes that when you wore them, all of a sudden you would feel more confident. You would feel more honorable. You would feel like, hey, I'm going to commit to actually doing what I want to do, whether it be losing weight, whether it be running a triathlon. Guys, guess what? You don't have to imagine. I've built them. The performance-enhancing colognes over at Mission Fragrances. So these are specifically formulated to help you get into the zone, to help you reach peak performance through scent conditioning. If this sounds at all interesting, guys, down in the description of today's video, I'm linking over to Mission Fragrances where you can learn more. We're going to ask for your email address, and I'm going to send you more information. So my journey is I collected hundreds of fragrances, and I love the way that they make me feel. But I kept finding all this research, because I studied the science of style, about how fragrances have proven to do this, do that. I mean, even the trucking industry was using certain notes to keep truckers awake. And I'm like, wait a minute, why isn't anyone developing a set of fragrances that are specifically formulated to help men reach peak performance? So that if you got to give a presentation, your boss's boss, guess what? You wear courage because you've conditioned yourself to feel more courageous when you wear this. Or if you want to be more honorable when you're traveling, when you just simply want to stand for your ideals, or you want to be more committed, again, to accomplishing the goals. Guys, we've designed these fragrances in a way, and there's a whole course that goes with these that teaches you how to use them so that you can become the man you know yourself to be. Again, if this all sounds interesting, check out the link down in the description of today's video, or just type in Mission Fragrances, you'll find us. But we only launch a few times a year because I give white glove customer service. I want to make sure that I can actually give live training, and I can only run so many guys through this. And again, if this at all sounds interesting, click on that link in the description of today's video. Now, another mistake I see a lot of guys making when it comes to fragrance is that they don't choose their own fragrance. They get something as a gift and they wear it. They actually don't like it that much. You've got to trust that you can actually identify scents and fragrances that work with your body. This is actually, I've got data on this. I've read the research. Men naturally can pick up what's going to amplify, what's going to work with their natural scent. So trust yourself, and don't trust scent strips. Yes, they're nice, they're convenient, they make it easy, but you actually need to put it on your skin and see how it reacts. I like it when a guy tries one fragrance, he gets a sample, or maybe he goes into a duty-free, tries one on. Don't try, 3 on. I've done this, it just doesn't work. And really, when it comes down to it, even if you're using sampling, the sticks and stuff like that, they really, once it goes beyond 3, you can't tell the difference. Your nose basically is overwhelmed. And I know people talk about, oh, just smell some coffee, or those coffee beans. That is not proven. That is a bunch of bull. That stuff does not work. There's a whole story behind it, where that came from. Point being is trust your own nose and find something that you absolutely love, and then you're going to have what could be a signature scent, maybe something for the season. Let's talk about that. So when applying fragrances, is there one that you should apply during the summer, winter, fall, spring? Okay, so all this pertains to basically temperature, and feelings that certain fragrances evoke. So right here, I've got, again, the classic Eau Sauvage. This is going to be a citrus, light, fresh, old school fragrance. Definitely one that, Alain Delon or somebody like that would be pulling this thing off. Your grandfather probably wore this, and I think that the modern men could wear this and smell great. Just an amazing fragrance. But this is more geared towards brighter summer, hotter temperatures, just because it's lighter. It's the citrus, the florals, maybe some of the aromatic notes in this. Next up, Giorgio Armani, Stronger With You Intensely. This one right here is perfect for winter. Why? It's going to be deeper, richer, sweeter, heavier. Just think about that. During the winter, you want something that is going to kind of wrap around you like a hug. That's exactly what these heavier, deeper fragrances, but there are other characteristics, because if you're going out to a club during the summer, it's relatively cool. This would be a great fragrance to wear. Why? Because the ladies in general love fragrances that are sweeter, that are deeper, that are richer. Now, what about wearing unisex fragrance or women's fragrances? Guys, there is no sex to a fragrance. This is something marketers made up, so you can wear anything that you think smells great. In fact, I just did a video talking about baseball players, and one of them, he was wearing Victoria's Secret, and he had it was basically a performance enhancer for him. So I tried Velvet Orchid, a little bit too sweet for me, and in general, that's what you're going to find with a lot of women's fragrances. They're just too sweet for most men's taste. That being said, Narciso Rodriguez right here, Oud Musk. This is a unisex fragrance that a lot of women were doing reviews on, and I saw all of them were like, it's too masculine, too strong for me. Just not something, it doesn't have enough sweetness. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try this, and lo and behold, this thing is absolutely beautiful. And I love it because if you're looking for a unique fragrance that no other guy's going to be wearing, then you bring in something unisex that really sets you apart. Now, the next question is, should you wear fragrance daily? My answer is yes. I love wearing fragrances because they enhance my mood. They make me feel better about myself. I'm wearing them for me, but I get it. Sometimes fragrances are expensive and you're like, okay, special occasions. In that case, I would say, you know what? Are you going with something popular? Does it have a clone version that you could wear this, Monday through Saturday, and then Sundays when you're heading to church, then wear your best? Or maybe build up a collection, have 4 fragrances that you rotate through. At the end of the day, 100 ml bottle, you're going to get like 1,400 sprays. So even if you're putting this on, 3 to 4 sprays a day, that's going to give you a full year of use, which I would rather go through and continue to use these things than not use them at all. And that brings up the important question, are fragrances actually dangerous? Can you overuse them? So I haven't heard of anyone actually overdosing on fragrances, but I will say, hey, this is hitting your skin. With anything, water, you can drown. You can get too much water here. It is something that I say don't go overboard. Don't go in excess. And if you're worried at all, just simply spray on your clothing, put a little bit less on. But like I said, everything has a smell. And for me, I want to, we're all going to smell. I want to smell good. Now, what about reapplying fragrances? So the first rule here is, have you just gone nose blind? That fragrance you put on 3 hours ago, I know you can't smell it now, but go for a walk. Come back in and smell yourself. And if you can still smell it, it's just simply you became nose blind. This is a very natural thing that our body does, so that after, even like 10 to 15 minutes, we become accustomed to a smell so that we're able to pick up other smells. That being said, having a 200 ml bottle of a fragrance is not something that's easy to carry around, especially if you're traveling, going through airport security. I love travel atomizers. In fact, I love them so much, I ended up buying like 1,000 of them with my logo and stuff. I'm still trying to figure out how to ship these out to some of you guys that are awesome commenters down below. Yeah, this right here really solves the problem. They're so easy to use. As you can see, they've got a male, a female, and you simply put it together. You make love, you make it happen, and boom, you've got something that can travel and you can spray throughout the day. Now, if that's too much work for you, just buy a fragrance in a 50 ml bottle. You're going to pay more per ounce than if you buy bigger bottles, but these are easy to slip into a pocket or simply travel with, and you can pick up a couple of them and boom, problem solved. Now, what about layering fragrances? So this gets a lot more complex, and I don't recommend it for the guy just starting off, but in general, if you wear a light, clean, crisp fragrance in the morning, by afternoon time, most likely you can wear a heavier, deeper, darker fragrance. And this makes sense because if you wear something to work and then you want something that you can go out and play, to the bars later on, but don't go the opposite, because the darker, heavier ones last longer and they can still overpower these lighter fragrances even if you apply them, 8 hours after you applied the heavier one. Now, what about layering with moisturizers and conditioners? So if you're using a shampoo, if you're using a moisturizer that is really strong, give yourself a little bit of time. Usually those dissipate after 15 to 30 minutes. But if it's sticking around all day, you may want to switch to an unscented one because, that stuff is just probably overpowering and cheap smelling anyway. I don't have a problem with, even if there's a little bit of a smell from the moisturizer I was using, go ahead and put the fragrance on. It's going to, I think, it's going to cover it up and do, layering like that, I never really see an issue with. All right, gentlemen, so what video to watch next? How about how to make your fragrance last all day? I just put this one out. It's a great video. It's the ultimate guide. If you want your fragrance to last all day, you're spending good money, and you want to get all the miles out of it you can, this is the video you want to watch. Boom, click on it. Magically, you will go over there.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow Sunbird Perfumes Zimbabwe.